Welcome to the Essential Self-Care Podcast, a show for those of us who are, let's face it, too busy for self-care. Each week, we bring you real-life stories and expert insights to help you create a kinder, more compassionate relationship with yourself. I'm your host, Dr. Sheetal Ajmani, a physician with over 2 decades of experience blending Eastern and Western well-being practices. As the founder of Radiant Living Institute, I'm here to help you reconnect with your own inner radiance. Remember, small changes make a large impact, and it all starts here. Please note, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult your own healthcare provider about your specific situation. Now, let's get started. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Essential Self-Care Podcast. I am really excited about today's guest, Cory McCoy. Cory McCoy is a personal trainer and the founder of Oasis Health Club in Virginia Beach, Virginia. We were actually introduced, we have a couple of mutual friends who just introduced us for our shared passion and interest for holistic wellness approaches. And so, Cory and I hopped on a call, I think it was just a couple of weeks ago, and we had this great conversation. He told me more about Oasis Health Club and just the work that he's doing. And I was like, you have to be a guest on my show. So thank you so much for being here. A little bit more about Cory before we dive into the conversation, though. He is a personal trainer. And as I mentioned, he founded Oasis Health Club in Virginia Beach. And this is your one-stop shop for physical and mental wellness. It features personal training and a licensed professional counselor and a social worker on staff. Additionally, Oasis Health Club offers additional incentives to address your financial health. So today we're going to talk about this really innovative wellness model that you've created. I'm so excited to dive in. Welcome to the show, Cory.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on the show and be able to talk about wellness and how it can be innovated and kind of curated to improve everyone's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. The premise of this show is essential self-care, and it's really about expanding our ideas of what self-care can look like, because so often people think of self-care as like the bubble baths and massages. And while I always say, yes, those are all completely valid forms of self-care, self-care is also so many other things. And this show is all about exposing individuals to so many different tools and modalities of self-care and tools and modalities that can support their well-being. And so, Cory, when you and I hopped on a call a couple of weeks ago and you were explaining this approach and this model that you've created with Oasis Health Club, I just thought it was so wonderful and refreshing to see how you've brought together so many different pieces that are so vital and so important to our well-being and to our overall self-care. So can you tell us a little bit more about this model that you've created and why you decided to be so intentional about incorporating all of the different pieces?
Yes. So the model comes from various things, personal experience, and then kind of observation or influence. I'm one about efficiency and not trying to recreate the wheel and just taking from people or companies that I'm inspired by or influenced by and personalizing it to my experiences, but also the people around me as well. And so with Oasis Health Club, it's a all-encompassing wellness space that focuses on the physical health, mental health, emotional health, and kind of the whole spectrum of wellness. Spending the last 7 years in the commercial space of, big box gyms, private gyms, you kind of see how those spaces are singular in terms of they just focus on the physical health, the dumbbells and the equipment and the niche boutique studios like your cycling and your HIIT classes. They kind of only offer that fitness service. People go there for their mental health. You hear a lot of people say that they work out for their mental health as like a stress reliever, but there's no kind of mental health or emotional health services actually provided in that space. And so it's kind of fragmented in terms of the pieces that you need for a complete wellness and complete self-care are kind of scattered, where like you have to get a gym membership, which is in one area of town. And then you have to go to, if you have a therapist, they're like 15 minutes away from the gym. And then you have to bounce back and forth to kind of get this all-encompassing package of wellness. And so kind of just simplifying it and being efficient, bringing everything all under one roof or in-house, so that when you come to visit the health club, you are able to simultaneously see a therapist, you're able to see a trainer, take care of yourself, and kind of disconnect from the chaos or hectic lifestyle that we all experience on a day-to-day basis, and kind of find that all in one space, so that when you come in, you leave relaxed, recharged, and rejuvenated, because you kind of worked on all facets of your overall well-being.
I love that. I love this approach. It's not something that I've seen very often. And we all know how powerful it is to address both the physical aspects and then the mental aspects. And we're currently in this country also facing a mental health crisis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so finding and creating more resources to access that support. And I've had so many guests on this show who, in sharing their personal self care journeys, have really touted the benefits and the power of the of physical movement, of personal training, or other sorts of physical practices supporting their mental well being. And so I love that you brought together in a very professional way both that physical aspect and that mental aspect in both a professional and intentional way. Can you share a little bit more as well about when we were talking, you had also mentioned, that you have a social worker on staff in addition to a licensed professional counselor, and also incentives to address clients' financial health too.
Yes. And so kind of carrying over the comprehensive approach, not only in services but in how you interact with professionals. And so it's not just a one-on-one interaction. You're kind of having a whole team of wellness professionals kind of guiding you and assisting you along your way of recovery. And so having that LPC to do therapy and have counseling, but also having a wellness social worker is what I'm kind of labeling it, as someone that can kind of sit with you and just kind of just go through any needs that you are seeking or maybe haven't discovered yet. And whether it's referrals in-house through like the counselor or through the trainer, kind of finding like those things, like what would make you what will get you out of your stressful situation? Is it financial? Is it emotional? And kind of helping one create that conversation, but also helping the person be steered in the right direction. And again, whether it's in-house through services that we provide or external, because I wanted to be as community engaged as possible. So helping tie or strengthen the community by having those external resources that can be referred to as well. So that's kind of the behavioral health aspect to where you're kind of taken care of on all levels in terms of making sure that if it's something that we can provide, we give it to you, but also having that community engagement and community relations, so that if we don't offer it, we can point you in a direction to help you improve your well-being. And so that covers kind of behavioral health, mental health, and emotional health. And then to your point of the financial health, going back to my years of commercial gym trainer titles, it's kind of going back to, if your heart's not in it, it's hard for you to sell or pitch something. And so the biggest, when I was a trainer, like these packages and prices that you kind of see in the commercial space can be a little bit exaggerated and kind of expensive for many people, depending on which geographic region that you live in, and also like your lifestyle and whatnot. But I felt like there wasn't that the price of the packages didn't equate to someone that's brand new starting out. When you're starting a lifestyle change, it's not only the physical fitness aspect, but typically like your nutrition is going to change as well. So your grocery bills are going to change, or there's influx or decrease depending where you shop. And I always like to focus on the positives. So if you start this whole wellness journey, you're starting to see physical change. Well, your old clothes aren't going to fit anymore, so you're needing that kind of financial health or financial support to go out and buy and reward yourself with new clothes and new trips and stuff like that, to kind of reward yourself. And so having the financial health incentives, where, and again, I'm not creating the wheel, just not recreating the wheel, but just inspired by a gym I saw in Europe that does something similar to this, incentivizing members or clients by every time you come in and kind of just be consistent with your wellness journey and recovery in your sessions, having a rolling discount applied to your membership. So this starting price, initial price, and then each month that you are consistent, a discount is applied to that rate, so that over time you're saving money as well as improving your lifestyle.
I love it. It's like, I always say when you address one aspect of your wellness, it automatically impacts and affects other aspects as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you address your physical, it, like you mentioned, it also can impact your mental, your emotional, like you said, in terms of how it may affect your financial, right? And you
Yep.
may want to treat yourself to some new clothes because your old clothes aren't fitting quite the same way, right? Once you start addressing that physical aspect and things like that. And so I love how intentional you were in creating this model and drawing from other models that you have seen to really create this model and this approach to address so many different areas. And, so it's like it just keeps getting better. Like you do one thing for yourself, and through what you've created, it's like it just keeps getting better, right? You stay consistent with these goals, with your packages of coming in for the personal training, of coming in for your mental health counseling sessions, and the rewards just expand because then you also have those financial incentives, and then you get to, it just starts this whole positive cycle and momentum. And you really, through this approach, encourage the cultivation and the fostering of that. And so I just love this so much. And when you were sharing about why you decided to bring a social worker onto your team to address a lot of those other aspects that perhaps your center isn't directly focused on, right? Outside of the
Mm-hmm.
personal training and the mental health counseling services, but you realize that there are also these other factors. And I just think that's such a beautiful approach of really realizing that to care for an individual and to support their overall well-being, having opportunities and ways to really address these other aspects that impact their well-being. Before we go on, I'm excited to share something that could make a really positive impact on your life. Are you tired of self-care routines that don't truly nourish your mind and body? Ayurveda offers a holistic approach that honors your individuality and helps restore balance from the inside out. Radiant Self-Care through Ayurveda is a self-paced 4-module video course that introduces you to Ayurveda's ancient science-backed practices to restore balance, boost energy, and renew happiness. From discovering your unique body-mind type to learning daily routines for radiant living, this course offers simple steps that you can take right away to transform your well-being. Head over to radiantlivinginstitute.com to access the course and start your journey to radiance today. I hope you found that helpful, and if you're ready to explore this more, check out the link in the show notes below. Now, let's jump back into today's episode. I've been doing a lot of work with a nonprofit that I'm associated with. I serve as a medical advisor for this nonprofit, and we're doing a lot of work around this idea of social prescribing, which is this idea that there is so much that goes into and impacts our health and well-being in addition to what goes on in the doctor's office and in a clinic
Mm-hmm.
visits, right? And as a physician, I stand by the importance of getting regular medical care and seeking the advice of your regular medical physician and healthcare providers, and that there are so many other social aspects that contribute to our well-being, whether that is related to financial, sort of transportation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned, nutrition, right? Our community. And so I love that you were so intentional to incorporate that piece as well. So I'm curious, now that we know more about the approach and the range and array of services that Oasis Health Club offers, and the reason and purpose behind each, I'm curious, and I realize it's still fairly new.
Hmm.
Oasis Health Club has been recently created, but so far I'm curious, what have you seen as some benefits from this approach, or maybe if you could share some client results or impact.
Gotcha. Well, that I think that the best client is yourself in terms of why, like your kind of is your why. And so just seeing from my own personal experience as patient zero, of me having a history of mental health with depression and anxiety, and having that diagnosis in 2014, having that diagnosis, the combination of therapy and medication and exercise helped me kind of get my recovery journey started. And you're mentioning earlier how effective physical activity is just to move our bodies. For me, it was more so just to shape or help kind of improve my self-esteem and self-worth. And I found that solution through exercising and through physical activity. And so having that physical movement helped me improve my self-esteem because my posture, like my um, body composition was changing, and seeing all these different results. And so the physical side was being covered, and then having that time to kind of reserve for therapy and taking care of myself mentally, like to your point of self care, doing those activities and having those coping strategies to where I could work on my mental health and kind of strengthen that. Bringing them together was kind of the best solution in terms of me seeing the results that I want to relate to other people. Um, the why to the underlying why to just not only my career but Oasis Health Club is me wanting to help everyone not be in a position that I was in at the beginning of my recovery. Very severe symptoms. Just and I reflect on how I felt in that moment, and that's something I don't want anyone else to experience. We talked about how things can kind of snowball into where stress from one thing leads to stress in another, and then stress in another, and it kind of just gets larger and larger, to where it kind of gets to a breaking point. So me offering these services are my attempt at trying to prevent someone from getting to that breaking point by being of assistance any way that's possible, whether it's through the physical, through the mental, being socially supportive, and just being a friend to kind of vent to. That's kind of the experience and the results that I've seen through my own personal experience, and then a couple of clients through. You start to build rapport as you get more and more sessions, and having that social support to where you're encouraging this person to continue to see change, to continue to see these healthy habits. I have one client who where she wanted to work out, but more so it was to help improve her mental health. And so we worked out for about a good 3 to 6 months, and then we took a break and then reconnected after that break. And she's like, and she wanted to come back because she remembered, or she felt how well she was working out, and it was during the summertime. So we worked together before the summertime happened, and she went out and enjoyed summer, and then we reconnected in the fall, and she's like, I felt so much better during the summertime because I felt more reassured and have a lot of self-confidence, self-esteem because of the physical activity. And that's something I want to kind of continue with you because of the rapport that we established. So, it kind of it feeds off each other to where some people work out for their mental health, and then some people, some people work out to stress relieve their mental health, but then other people work out to help support their mental health as well. And so it was great to hear that kind of feedback in terms of it's being effective and how you can combine two and get the same result of overall improved wellness.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for sharing also a bit of your own personal journey that led to the development of this approach. I really appreciate that as well. And, I think for many of us who have entered into some wellness related fields, for many of us, it is, myself included, either an experience that we directly have had or maybe a loved one has had that has really motivated us to create the pathways to serve others in the ways that we have. And so I really appreciate you sharing that. And often often it is those challenging moments and those challenging situations that then give us the tools, that equip us with the tools so that we may then serve others through our own journey. And that's something that I was hearing through your story. That is certainly true with my story and journey up to this point as well. So I appreciate you sharing that. And then I also appreciated and wanted to draw out for our listeners something that you mentioned with the client that you just shared about, who took a break for the summer and then said, I want to return. I remember how good I felt when I was working with you. And it's just to say that, sometimes with our self-care routines and practices, whatever that looks like for you, sometimes we can have these times in our life where we fall away from it for whatever reason, right?
Mhm.
And knowing that it's never lost, like any amount of caring for yourself, of nourishing yourself, whether that's through physical activity, through your diet, through nutrition, through seeing a therapist or a counselor, none of it is ever lost. Like even if life happens and you have to step away from it for a while, it's like your body, your mind, your emotions have this memory and remember what it feels like. And so it's like you're never going all the way back to point zero, like you still have that memory, that whether it's muscle memory or emotional memory or mental memory of what that experience felt like and how good it can feel to care for yourself. And so that can serve as such a great motivation to get back into the rhythm of it. So thank you so much for being here. I've really enjoyed this
No problem at all.
conversation and diving deeper into Oasis Health Club and your own journey that led to creating it. For anyone who's listening who wants to learn more about your work, who is interested in learning about Oasis Health Club, where can they learn more?
So you can learn more on the socials, right, primarily Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is Oasis Health and Wellness, and Instagram is Oasis Health VA. And that's where you can find, ways to attend some free classes, find out the services, our website, pretty much just everything about Oasis. The goal is to essentially become the oasis of Virginia Beach in terms of a place where people can kind of gather and just disconnect for a little bit and work on themselves. And so all those services that we provide are through our website, which can be found in our social medias.
Wonderful. And I will include all those links in the show notes below. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I know you have so many choices for how to spend your time, so I thank you for being here today with Essential Self-Care. As a gift, download your free workbook, 6 simple yet powerful steps to create your radiant life at radiantlivinginstitute.com and start your journey to a more radiant you.